Hey everyone, welcome to Buzzing About Romance. I am Becky, and I am still not over this whatever it is, but I am super excited today for this episode that I am joined by Lindsey. Hi, Lindsey.
Hi.
And Heather. Hi, Heather.
Hello.
And back with us again is Leah. Hey, Leah.
Hey, everybody.
Okay, guys, how's your week been? How's your book week been?
My book week has been dark.
You're a little late on the dark era.
I
Well,
don't know. We finally have sun here in Minnesota, so I feel like we're all coming out of a fog. I'm trying to slow down on my enjoy and savor books.
It's fair. How about you, Lindsey? How was your book week?
not good.
Not
Oh,
good.
no. Well, I've audiobook listened to a few chapters. I read half of a book, but I just have not been able to read this week, really.
That's fair.
Concentration is bad.
That's fair.
Feeling it this week. I will say, having a job that I have, because I got a job recently and I have to go to my office. And I will say it has really cramped my reading.
Stinking real life. You know,
Stinking job.
it's actually, I mean, we talked about it in the last episode. We did some hot takes and talked about things, and on previous episodes we talked about things. But this week, like book world wise, was pretty quiet. I think the potential of TikTok being shut down kind of moved everybody's focus off of drama and being idiots, and they're more looking at the potential
talking
that
about the books.
Yeah.
Big picture.
Yeah, the big picture, the social media, some of the crap happening in our world right now. But it did get me thinking about like where my place is in social media as far as book goes and where I want to be. And I've decided I really just want to stay in the reader space. I want to be a reader, part of a reading community that just shares out books organically.
Yeah.
Like, I do not want to be a superstar. Would I like the podcast to pay for itself and maybe put some money in all our pockets? Absolutely. But not
all that TikTok stuff has just made me realize how much I dislike social media. So I just kind of troll people.
So if you're listening to this and you follow Buzzing About Romance on any social media platforms, I highly encourage you to join our Discord server. That is
there's a lot of activity over there.
That is the safest place for you to join us. We only talk books. I mean, we get a little lifestyle stuff here and there. Like apparently Jenna feels that hockey players are not as tall as they're supposed to be. Like she talked about that today.
I missed that.
She shared a picture.
Maybe it's just the Ducks.
Her children are members of the kids club for the Anaheim Ducks. And she shared a picture of her daughter who is 10 or 11.
I think she just turned 12.
Did she just turn 12? Standing next to one of the
maybe
players.
Is that the 9-year-old?
And he is not a big guy.
She has a couple kids that are like my kids' age, so it's hard to...
She has 4 children. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so she shared a picture and was like, he's not as big as you would think.
They have to be a little leaner and then a little more solid. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's more muscle.
So, defensemen usually are a little bit more bulky because they're sort of like the enforcers, but your forwards need to be tall and leaner.
Like a quarterback versus a linebacker.
Right. And that's why hockey butts are a thing, because their legs and their butts do a lot of the work when they're skating.
I like the butts. I am not sad about hockey bucks. And you see them in some of their suit pants.
Oh, yeah.
So if you are a hockey
some
romance...
Some of those gentlemen wear their suits well.
Oh, yes.
If you're a hockey romance...
Butts tailored?
You what?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have to get the butts tailored?
Yes.
Some of them probably do.
Because their butts are so big.
And their thighs are too big too.
So if you like hockey romances, I highly recommend that you check out the Chippy Chicks YouTube channel. It's
Yes.
author Danica Flynn is in it, Kelly Jamieson, Wallen Fortune, and I can't think. There's like 5 or 6 romance authors that are on this. But they only have a show every month, and in every episode they do a style of hockey, and they talk about the warm-up outfits or the coming to the game outfits and lots of butt
I will
shots.
say I do like the tiki talks when they're strolling in. It's like, what time like are they showing up, and you see what all these delightful hockey players are wearing to the arenas.
I was just scrolling through Instagram, and on game days, hockey players have to dress up. It's like a rule. They have to dress so most of the NHL teams have a great social media team, and they post pictures of the guys coming in their suits. Just a little plug, the Minnesota Wild was ranked one of the hottest teams in the country, and their social media team is phenomenal. So, just throwing that out there.
Now stalking the Minnesota Wild.
The Bruins have a really good social media presence as
They do
well.
too.
Not that I'm a fan of the Bruins, because Penguins all the way, but yeah, the Bruins have a good social media.
They do.
I really like butts. Okay. On with our show and episode. Okay, new segment we have started for the last month. Each week we're going to go over a romance book term, and some of you might be familiar with these, others might not. If you have a term you would like us to describe or to define for you, please feel free to send us a DM or an email, and we will happily add it to our list. This week our term is PNR, and it was suggested by Heather. So paranormal, PNR stands for paranormal romance. Paranormal romance is a subgenre of both romantic fiction and speculative fiction. Paranormal romance focuses on romantic love and includes elements beyond the range of scientific explanation. Paranormal romances may range from traditional category romances with a paranormal setting or story where the main emphasis is on a fantasy-based plot with a romantic subplot included. Common hallmarks are romantic relationships between humans and vampires, humans and shapeshifters, humans and ghosts, and other entities of a fantastic or otherworldly nature. Beyond the more prevalent theme involving vampires, shapeshifters, ghosts, or time travel, paranormal romances can also include books featuring characters with psychic abilities like telekinesis or telepathy. Paranormal romances have its roots in Gothic fiction. I recently did an article on Gothic fiction versus dark fiction, and you can find that in our pour over section on the blog. Technically, do not come for me, Leah. Technically, sci-fi romances, so aliens, can be clumped in with PNR, but true fans of PNR tend to keep it separate. Monster romances can also be lumped in, but are slowly becoming their own subset within the romance genre.
I wouldn't come after you with that, because PNR actually, like, that is like, so like with romance, you have the genre of romance, then you have the subgenres, and like the PNR, like I feel like it is a more eclectic subgenre than most people think. So I typically always state the sci-fi as a subgenre of the subgenre of PNR.
You know, with the popularity of Ruby Dixon's Ice Planet Barbarians, though, we really have seen an uptick in alien romances, and they really are becoming their own subgenre.
Yeah.
So,
and a lot of our favorite authors also write a lot of PNR.
Yeah.
So
there is a talent to a well-structured and like engaging PNR romance, though. Not every author can nab that like niche, but there are some that do it really well.
I also think PNR authors are some of the friendliest and funniest of authors that we've spent time with, because if you think about it, Delta James, we just did a happy hour with her, which was apparently 90 minutes of hilarity.
Yes, it was.
She is such a delightful, like warm,
She's
loving person.
the nicest human.
She's
She
just a great
is.
human.
She is a delightful human being.
Oh, love her.
She's
She
also
sent
the
me
queen of
pens,
swag.
Heather.
What?
We
Lindsay?
have pens coming. She sent me pens.
Lindsay, what were you saying?
She's the queen of swag. Her swag is like
She does.
incredible.
She has amazing swag.
She does.
And that is one thing that she prides herself on, the quality of her swag.
Yeah.
Like her and Chris search for good swag.
But Sawyer Bennett also writes PNR with her Stone Veil series.
Mhm.
And it's more fantasy romance than paranormal, which again is breaking
don't
off
come
into
at
its
you.
own
Mhm.
subgenre.
Well, and that's the thing. Like there are these like ideas in the subgenres, but as they become more popular and like gain traction, like you almost have to give them their own subset, because like then like that one subgenre becomes too big and
Well,
you
'cause
need to have those separate sects of it.
we've been seeing this trend of these witchy rom-coms, but you kind of also then have the Juliet Crosses that straddle between the PNR and the fantasy of the witchy rom-coms. So it's really interesting because Avery Flynn wrote a witchy rom-com. There's that
Doesn't Stacey Kennedy have a
Stacey
witchy
Kennedy does.
rom-com?
Kelly Jamison wrote an adorable one. Big Witch Energy, right, Heather? I think it was called.
It
So
was very
good.
cute. I really liked it.
So anyway, that's our more that you know.
The more you know.
I know everybody wants that sound effect, but can't even get an echo, and that seems pretty easy. Just saying. Okay, so would you like to know what we're talking about on this episode? This episode is not for me. This is not for me because we all know that I am my own little army of chaos when it comes to this topic. So, on this episode, we are talking about how we manage a TBR, or if we even have a TBR. Because we all know that I don't really have a TBR, and I really don't want you to keep an up-to-date TBR. I want you to add 70 books every time I talk to you. I'm a destroyer
But more
of
importantly,
TBRs.
you want us to immediately read the book that you need us to read so we can talk about it.
Yes.
Yes, Lindsay, you're correct.
Yes. And my latest victim was Leah.
It was delightful, and I am not sad about it.
What book?
Scandals of the Father by Zoe Blake. It comes out March 31st. It is book 1 in this like new mafia-esque series. Like they have mafia elements, but not really mafia at the same time. But if consent is important to you, this book is not for you.
Not for you.
But it is delightful. It's an age gap. Like
Primal kink.
There's a lot of primal kink. The heroine is like this fierce, like takes no shit from the hero. He is a silver fox, like stern brunch daddy.
Cover is sexy.
The covers, yes.
I'm in my
So
daddy
pretty.
era, everybody. Just so
And
we're all very clear.
Well, and it's funny because like as you read the book, like he throws out the daddy and he's like, I've never really thought about that before, but it works. And I think I really need her to say this.
Fucking hot. So
It was really good. Really good.
Anyway, okay. So let's talk about TBRs. And well, I don't think you should keep them. Just kidding.
Okay, that's really funny to me because when I joined our book club, I did not keep a TBR, and now it's 10,000 books long because of Becky.
So herein lies my question. Is it truly a TBR if you just keep adding books to it without it ever going anywhere?
No. Maybe. I don't know. It's a little bucket of horrors is what it is.
I feel like I've
Like, I want to read
abandoned.
them, but I'm never going to be able to get through them all now. Never.
Well, and
like-
that's the thing.
I used to write them down, and I'm like, well, this is like, I have like a whole notebook of like books, and I'm like, and I wrote that like 2 years ago. Like, I'm never gonna go back to that and look through them.
Well, and my thing is there's so many books that come out every single week. Some weeks have better options than other weeks, but there's at least 1 to 2 authors that we really enjoy that come out with books like at least once a month. or like once a week. So that's at least 6 books per month that I'm going to read. I just kind of like, does it matter? Like if an author is releasing a book, like I'm going to read it. Like it's automatically going on my Kindle and it's automatically going to get like shoved into my little brain here. So hence the question.
I think that's a really good question. And I think I think my TBR is kind of trash. I don't know that I'd consider it like a realistic list, more of like a comprehensive list of every book I'm interested in reading. And then like I have certain author backlists, like Sawyer Bennett and Julie. I've been working through her backlist. Authors where like I've loved their books so much that like now I will read their books. It's like I'm working through their backlist and I'll check like the books off the backlist, but I won't just like binge read it because I know like I love them.
You don't want it to end.
And I don't want it to end, but I also need something that's like guaranteed that I'll love.
And
sometimes I need like,
you need that comfort.
Yeah, I just need to know that I have like something reliably good on deck at any given time.
I think for me, versus it being like I have a TBR, I just have books that like I need, like I've cut down on how many arcs I take. But then like some of my favorite authors that are releasing on Kindle Unlimited, or if they have books, I'm just tracking like what books I'm looking forward to that month. Like I use Google, like Google Suite for everything. So I use Google Keep. And so I just track it on Google Keep. And
no, I will say for the podcast, like I do have a true TBR that I write down like the book I need to read and the date I have to have it read by, because if not, then we would never have books read by Leah because there's a lot of chaos in my head. And so like I have an actual like podcast to be read because those are scheduled books that we have episodes planned for. So like those, like, yes, there's a true to be read list that I try and follow, but we all know I'm not that great about that. But so like I kind of have a true TBR, but I kind of don't at the same time. But like even so, like so Becky and I put a list out on the website every month about books like that are releasing in that month that we're excited for. And so like that's basically my TBR for like all time.
For that month.
I mean, if it's a book that I want to read, I'm putting it on the website so you guys are aware of it.
So that's something to note. If you're always curious what books are coming out and when, if they're interested to us in the podcast, we usually a week to 5 days before the start of the next month, we will put on our website a upcoming anticipated releases. Fantasticfiction.com is also a really great place to look and see what's coming up in the future. And you can categorize it down to romance. And I tend to go there a lot to bring you my list because I do not write down books I want to read. I never thought of myself as a mood reader because, when you read in a library for as long as I read in the library, having to read.
You're beholden to the library.
So if my hell came in, I had only so much time to get it read. And so a lot of times if I was waiting for a book to come in, I might search the library for a ready now book. Or it was a reread stuff that I owned. But for a really long time, 7 years, I read completely out of my library. I didn't have Kindle Unlimited. I really couldn't afford to buy books. And so reading from a library is very different than how I read now. 7 years ago, I didn't know about ARCs. I didn't know about book blogging or any of that kind of stuff. So on a budget, a TBR is different. Basically, when I was reading in the library, my TBR was my hold list. And you only get like 20 holds.
Yeah.
So I think that that's something to keep in mind too. Not everybody is reading at the same place as everybody else. Now, I think the majority of you guys listening right now read in KU like we do. So I'm notorious for screenshotting books
Uh-huh.
covers as I come across them so that I can remember, oh, that book's on my radar.
Well, and like in your Kindle app, if you ever do it, like there's a line where it's like upcoming releases. Like I'll click on those and screenshot and it has like the cover, the date, like and all that stuff.
That's good to know. I didn't know
I
you
have
could do
so
that.
many. Yeah, it's right on the app. It's pretty cool.
I am in a lot of groups on Facebook. Like, so I'm a big MM author or MM book person. I love them. And so I'm in a couple groups, and then people will like say, oh, I'm looking for this kind of book or whatever. And then people recommend. So then I have screenshots. And then I have spreadsheets for each of like the subgenres that I have. So like I have romantic suspense, and then I have all the authors and their reading order. I have mafia, I have cowboy, I have I don't know, I have so many. And then when I'm listening to an audiobook, I go through and I put them because I don't know. It makes me sound like I have a lot of time, and I don't. I just
It's your teacher brain like working full force.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
how do you guys find books you want to read that you want to keep on your radar? Like, are you simply just do you just take word of mouth from me, your local book pusher, who's like, hey, you need to read this? Um, or are you actively like Google searching tropes you like? Or are you just going on Amazon and looking at an author and seeing what of their books you haven't read yet? I really wish there was a way in Amazon for it to tell me that I've already read this book. Like when I
Yes.
click
Oh my
into
God,
KU, if I've
yes.
returned it already, I really wish there was something Amazon said, you checked this book out previous at this date. But it doesn't, so it's fine. Um, so how do you find books you want to read?
One of the ways that you didn't mention that I do use a lot is like if I really enjoy a book, I'll go look it up on Amazon, and then there's like a recommended like this section under it, and I'll go through those, and I'll usually like I'll find a lot of new to me authors that way. And
Mhm.
also like usually they show the star rating as well in the scroll through, so it's really easy to do that, to find a book. Almost every time I do that, I wind up really liking the book. And actually I've been talking about this vampire mafia series, and I'm really mad the third book isn't out yet. I need it so bad, but like it was recommended to me that way, and I'd never read this author before, and I'm obsessed with it. And it was from a recommendation like that. I was reading Wolf Shifter books and all this other paranormal stuff. um,
So
but yeah,
I did the
I
same.
love
I
that.
did the same thing, Lindsay, when I was doing the dive for Mafia. I knew who my like go-to Mafia authors were, so I just went on Amazon and then kind of looking at the other people like these, and that's how I found like Sadie Kincaid. That's how I found BB Hamel, and like these are all authors that I'm now like Stage Five Klinger stalking. So those are a really great way to also
Well,
do.
and if you go into the author pages, like their author bio pages where it has like all the books they published, they have a row of like authors that write similar books to them too. And I find them that way as well. Like I'll click into the author page because like I'm looking for something specific sometimes. And it has a list of these like authors write similar books. So it's like you're not looking for a book specific, but an author specific.
Mhm.
I found like two or three books on the Facebook ads. Like they have like little like snippets, like as I'm scrolling through Facebook.
That's how I found Ivy Lane. Years when I first
And
started KU, it was Ivy Lane in one of those
and
Facebook ads.
well, and it's the Facebook ads, and they have like a really dynamic like scene. And so like I'll click into it, and a lot of times they're KU. And I found a couple really good authors that way. I
Mhm.
found some not so great books that way too, because somehow I got into like sweet ads like popping up a lot.
Like, did
And
they not know you?
yeah, they did not know me. And I didn't realize they were sweet, and the book sounded good. And I didn't,
Do
and I think that
Does
sent me
anybody
down the
here
rabbit hole of sweet.
use their Goodreads want to read list as a
No.
guide for what they're going to read?
I go onto Goodreads to post my reviews. That is the only thing I use
Do you
Goodreads
click want
for.
to read on any books? Like, do you have a want to read shelf and have a number there?
Um,
Do you ever go back to it? Like, because I have ones that I
I
put on there in
do.
like 2020. I don't know
I
if I've ever
do go
gone
back to it.
back.
Well, in the giveaways,
Yeah.
if you enter the giveaway, it always adds. If it's not on your want to read, it always adds on your want to read. So I do have books on my want to read, but I couldn't tell you what's on there.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
was about to say the only reason a book makes it onto my want to read is if I've clicked on that button for a giveaway, because I don't stay up to don't ever go on my Goodreads. It's a train wreck.
My Goodreads is just for me to like separate into tropes and things like that.
But when they updated it recently, I do like when you post a review, it tells you to put it on a shelf, which
Mhm.
hallelujah. Thank you so much, Goodreads, for that. That's been helpful.
Yep. Future Leah or past Leah is like still kicking herself for not being organized, but current Leah is pretty happy with her Goodreads shelves.
I need to just start over from scratch.
I have a separate one that just tracks this year because my Goodreads was so messed up. And so then like my reviews I still post on my old one, but like I have my new one that like it's very nerdy of me, I know. But okay, so my want to read is at 62 on Goodreads. I'm looking at it currently. But yeah, there's books from 2002 on here.
Well, 2002 is only last year. Oh, 2002, not 2022. 2002.
There was one from 2002 because
I have-
apparently I never like moved it.
I have 305 on my want to read. The oldest being One Hot Christmas from, oh no. No, can't be the oldest one because
Oh no, it wasn't 2002. That was the different.
Yeah, my
Or from
want to read is
2021.
307.
I have one from 2021.
I have 214, and I'm very disappointed that I have entered that many giveaways in 1-0.
I have 211 want to read, apparently. Who knew?
Who knew? I have a love-hate relationship with Goodreads. Like, we all know it's owned by Amazon, and it's a little funky, and I don't love it.
Definitely don't love the update.
I really will say, though, I do like that I can see what other of our friends and members of our community are reading. Like, I was on there today, and I was going through and noticed somebody had rated a couple books, and I added them, to my want to read and liked their reviews. Because it does help me keep a gauge on our active members in our listening community, what they're reading, so that I can read too. And that way it makes me a good community member. So, I'm all about being a good community member.
I'm a really weird person because I feel like I've read more books based on people saying that a book was terrible than I have been based on it being really well loved. Because I have so many books that are on my TBR that are like very well loved and have been highly recommended. And there's just a lot of those. But when somebody is like, wow, this book was so messed up, I'm like, okay, I want to go see what was messed up.
You're like, I need to know why.
Like,
Why
my
was it messed up?
curiosity, like, yeah, it drives me to read it. And then like you go in and you know what to expect, and it's not more often than not, they're not badly written books. It's just like things that I really don't like personal taste things, or they're just like totally crazy town.
This is why I think there is value in the low star ratings, especially in the day and age right now. And we talked about it, I think, in our hot takes with Katie. It is hard to trust social media influencers right now, book influencers.
Trust a lot of people.
For book recs. And because, you get over, I had a recent book, and I did a Patreon, should you read it? I started The Highest Bidder by Sarah Kate. And if you're over on TikTok or you're on Instagram, you're seeing this book, like, everybody loves it. Everyone's talking so high about it. And the cover's hot. It's Wander, and I have a thing for daddies right now, so I picked it up. And then the more I got into this book, the more I was angry and I'm pissed off. And I just don't feel like I can take anyone's word that is glowing about a book. And I know that a book is going to hit different for everybody, which is why I pride us when we do our quick shots that we do critical reviews and we don't give you a star rating. And we've even stopped doing like, you know, would you recommend this book and who should read this book? We've stopped doing that. We just break down the book, the feelings of the book, how the book works, what the characters are like. And you can't always tell if we loved or didn't love the book. We just are laying it out for you because
Well, but in those too, like we talk about things that we liked about the books, but things that we didn't like about the book too. And I can love a book and there still be parts of a book that I wish they would have done differently. But it doesn't hinder like my love of the book.
A lot of the reviewers and influencers aren't talking about big giant plot holes in the popular books or the overwritten books. But when I find that two or three... Go ahead, Lindsay.
Sorry. A big thing they're doing now is they're falling in love with these like very flat characters. They're like touting these characters. It's like, oh my gosh, I love this character so much. And it's like, why? She had no personality. She had no goals. She had no drive. And then like the hero is just like one big douchebag who eventually decides he loves her. Like how are we loving these books? Like sometimes I literally read these 5-star books and you know what? That's exactly why I don't take recommendations from any influencer on Instagram unless it's Becky or Leah or Heather or like somebody in our community, because you guys know what to recommend because we know each other, we know our tastes. That's a huge perk of our community is that we know each other well enough to know. And then like, because I know your tastes, I know what you're reading. And if you're saying it's really good, I know I'll love it too.
Well, but we're not always going to love the same books.
No, we're not always going to.
So this brings up the next question. Where do you get most of your book recs? I mean...
No book influencers, clearly.
I trust a fellow reader that's truly a reader and not trying to be an influencer. If you're dancing with your book,
I'm not going to trust
or
you.
you're just flashing pages, likely your rec's not for me.
But I also won't trust a person that only talks about every book that they love. Like even if I go into like their Goodreads, like if you want to only talk about the positive books on your TikTok or your Instagram, that's fine. But if I go into your Goodreads and you have 0 3-star ratings, I'm not going to trust you because there's no possible way that you have not read a book that is a 3-star.
I also realize that a lot of people on TikTok who are posting their books, they're getting the paperbacks, which is cool for them, awesome. Or
they're not reading them.
They're not reading the book. It is, if you, as someone who has come across people where I've read the book and then they're talking about the book, it's very clear to me that they didn't even read it.
And you're like, what book did you read?
Yeah, and to me, I think that's wrong. Like maybe I'm old school and it's because I'm old, but if I'm taking a advanced copy of a book to help promote for an author, I am agreeing to that author. I will read your book and I am going to be a fair, reviewer, and I will promote your book because I liked it but they're not reading the book, and I think that that's not cool.
Well, but they're also getting the books because they have a huge following. And like maybe that is working for marketing purposes, but like for most readers, that kind of stuff is going to get you blacklisted from the reading list. Like
it's a trust piece. It's a trust piece.
But it's doing other readers a disservice by talking about how great a book is when it's not a great book.
Well, but books hit different for everybody. We all are not going to like all the same books. I know that I tend to not like, I'm hard on romantic suspense. It has to be a very specific kind of romantic suspense to get me in. It can't just be subpar romantic suspense. Just because there's a mystery doesn't mean it's going to keep my attention. And that doesn't mean it's a bad book. It just means it's not a book for me. And so I'm not yucking on anyone's yum. I just wish that they would use a hashtag promo,
Yeah.
not review, because it's not an honest review, which is why for me, for book recs, I'm always going to go to our community in Discord first. Like Leah and I are getting ready to do an episode on our top 10 slow burns. Well, I hate slow burns. I haven't read a ton of them. So I asked in the community, I'm not going to go to TikTok and search hashtag slow burn romances because I don't feel that I'm going to get any really true, valid, honest reviews on them.
Yeah. So Allie Winters came out with a book this week. Her follow-up to I think it's The Forest Between Us. It's A Mountain Divides Us. And I looked on it this week and I was really impressed. And I actually downloaded the book to read it. I have to read some other stuff first, but I downloaded it to read it. And the reason I did was because she had 14 reviews and multiple 3-star reviews. And it's so rare when a book comes out now that they're not all 5-star.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like when they first come out, it's like they're all 4 or 5-star reviews and they're all glowing and like the praise is extreme. And it's like, it's so hard for me to trust that now because like, especially when new books come out, it's like all of the book influencers who've gotten this book are like 5 stars. It's the best book I've ever read. And then like 2 days later, the next book they're posting about is the best book they've ever read. And it's like, well, what did you love about these books? Like the 3-star reviews told me more about what the book was actually about, whether or not I'd like it. And, maybe it is going to be a 3-star read for me. I don't know, but it doesn't mean that I won't like it, read it, and love it.
This is something I will continue to say. There is nothing wrong with 3 stars.
No.
I like a 3-star book. It doesn't mean I don't like it.
Honestly, like that's where I gauge. Like I'll read the 3-star reviews. Like I'll read a couple 5 stars and I'll read the 1 stars because sometimes those ones are really funny. But the 3-star review is where I typically get my true recommendation for. And if it's a book that's been really hyped, I will wait a month before I read it.
But
because
3
by
stars.
then,
But 3 stars are valid. It means the book was good because you finished it.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything erroneous about it. There was not anything horrible about it. And maybe it's just not the most exceptional book you read at that day. And we all know we all have our moods, our environments affect how we respond to a book.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have any problems with a 3-star review.
No.
Mm-mm.
The other way that I'll find book recommendations is author newsletters. So if I've subscribed to an author newsletter and they're actually coming to my inbox each month, it's like you are top tier author for me. So in almost every author newsletter, they have their book picks. So I don't know if it's author friends or books they've loved. Like it varies author to author how they pick them, but those have been like really good. Usually I enjoy those. Usually I'll download those and read those or add them to my TBR, and that's been pretty reliable.
Mm-hmm. Well, and every once in a while authors will post because like Susan Stoker posts in her author, like her group, like about books that she's read that she loves, and sometimes I really enjoy them. That's how I found the Zoe Draven, my Horde Kings. That's how I found them because Susan like raved about that series and how good it was. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to give this a try. But then, or maybe she talked about it on the podcast. I don't remember, but she recommends books like in her group. Like she talks about books that she's read that really hit well with her. And sometimes I really enjoy them. And like I read one a couple weeks ago that I was in a mood. So I don't know if it was the book or if it was me. And I didn't love it, but it's one of those things where it was a solid story. It just didn't hit right for me. But I like that too.
So let's talk about our mood reading. Heather, did you want to talk about where you find your book recs?
Oh, I mean, I basically everywhere, same as all of you.
Okay. Let's talk about our mood reading because this conversation has come up a couple of times between Heather and I because as everybody knows, from mid-December until 2 weeks ago, Today. I mean, we're still working on it. Yeah, I read a lot this week that was dark. Heather and I were in our dark era. Like, we were in this deep dive of mafia books, and we really, really were enjoying them. And we binge read, but now we are supposed to be moving out of our dark era.
Or struggle bus.
Supposed to be.
We're supposed to be, and we're supposed to be in cowboy/western era. It's not working.
No.
They're not as aggressive, maybe is the word.
Stop being a fucking gentleman. Chase me down and pull my hair.
Hot take.
Uh-huh.
I'm fed up with like most contemporary romance genres. Like so many authors I've loved in the past, and so much of like contemporary romance in general has just fallen so flat for me lately. Like I can't tell you the last time I've read a 5-star book in contemporary, and that's what I used to read. Like that used to be my go-to. So I can tell you like the dark books never disappoint me. I know they're going to be crazy town. I know I'm going to like get hooked into the story. I know I'm going to need to know who's killing who and who's going to wind up to get. I mean, you know what's happily ever after, but
Lindsey,
it's so crazy.
you have to read Zoe Blake. Like Cat and Mouse, like The Chase. Like basically this one book is he finds her, she stabs him, runs away, he catches her, they have the sex, and then she runs away again or points a gun at his head and shoots him, but doesn't hit him. Holy crap. They're bonkers and delightful. And anyway, just so you know, you should add that to your TBR.
I mean, I just don't think it's going to stop. Like, I don't think it's going to get old. I don't know when it'll get old, but it's not going to be anytime soon because like I'm just reading like romantic suspense, paranormal, sci-fi romance, fantasy romance, anything that is not contemporary is pretty much what I'm reading now. No rom-com, some rom-coms, not really. Actually, no rom-coms. I wouldn't say anything I've read the last like 3 months has been funny.
So I call those palate cleansers. So like for me, I need either those like insta love, like, you know, maybe a quick and like real spicy, or I always go back to books because there's not a lot of internal angst. It's not like angsty because of the characters often. There's a lot of external angst. So I always go back to them, and I have to load my Kindle with some of those. So like I read, I don't know. I'm weird.
No, I don't think it's weird.
No, I agree. It's not weird.
Leah, do you have any thoughts on moving from one genre to the other and the disappointment? Do you cry like Heather and I cry? Because we cry.
Well, I think part of it is like I am such a mood reader. So like if I am feeling not great, like I need something that almost brings me down farther. I've noticed. So like the dark era, like if I'm not feeling so hot, like I'll read a dark book and it makes me feel better. But I think part of it is there's so many authors chasing the TikTok trope chaos right now that they're not giving us quality books. And I don't feel like the mafia authors and the dark authors and like the PWP authors, like they're not doing that. So I'm not left disappointed in the characters and the tropes and the development of the stories.
So for your TBR for this, go ahead, Heather.
I think some of the authors that are not, I don't want to say disappointing isn't the right word, but the solid authors that I know that I'm going to love their books are the ones that are tried and true. They have been around for a long time. So like I'm reading a Samantha Young book right now, phenomenal. That new Natasha Madison series, good. She's a solid author. Sawyer Bennett has been around, like all of those authors that have been around for a long time
that aren't getting all the hype. So we have an upcoming episode that books we think you should be reading that deserve more hype, that aren't trending #1 the day they come out, but are good, solid books that are kind of quiet sleepers. So we have that coming up in a couple weeks. So with your TBR, how do you read a series? Do you binge a whole series? Do you rage read the series, or do you piecemeal one book at a time, switching in between to other books? What kind of reader with a series are you?
I'm a binger. I'm a binger to the end of the binging. And honestly, like when I have to wait for another book, I I don't always love it.
Lindsay, what kind of series reader are you?
I do all of it.
You
I
all
do
of it.
all of it, and it depends on my mood. So I've rage read a series, I've binge read series, I piecemeal other series like Sawyer Bennett.
Mhm.
Geez, like her Zone of Vengeance series. I don't think I could even tell you what order those books go in. I could probably tell you like with a shot in the dark, like relatively how I read them, but it was nowhere near an order. It was based entirely on the trope of the book, and it worked. Like they're true standalones. It was phenomenal. And I read them all like when I was in the mood or when I like was having a hard time finding something else. And like that Sawyer, like she's an interesting author for me because like I won't let myself binge read her series. I will not. Like I've wanted to, but I won't do it because I'm going to read every single book the woman's ever written. I'm going to do that. But like I will always pick up her book like when I feel like I'm about to hit a slump or something. And I like this last week is really rare. I can't tell you the last time I've had like a week where I didn't read a book. But yeah, like Sawyer, most of the time, like before I feel like that's the kind of situation's coming on, I'll pick up one of her books, and it's always random. Always. I've not read a single one of her books in order. None.
I love her books. What about you, Heather? What kind of series reader are you? Binge, rage, piecemeal? Or are you like me, a bucket of chaos, who read, and
You
kind of like Lindsay? Like, I will read,
you do the rage read.
I
You
do, but I
rage. I
also
will
do
rage
the,
read a series though
I,
too.
I'll read book one of a cliffhanger, and a cliffhanger, as long as I know it's coming, it doesn't bother me. But it might take me a while, even if book two's come out, it might take me a while to circle back to it. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
have it on my calendar. I don't have it automatically downloading when it releases. It takes me a minute to get back to it.
I don't think I rage read series, and
Alexius, that's the book that I rage read.
right.
I think
I
everybody rage read that after you talked to them.
Not me.
I didn't read it, so I did not rage read
So
it,
fucking
but
Uh-uh.
I have rage read books before.
I think I have not like binged a series in a long time because I feel like any author that I'm like stalking, I like stay on top of. And so then I'm waiting for their books, but I have read. Um I have I didn't realize that I sometimes hop into a series like mid-series. I didn't realize I was doing that and I did that. I don't know. I kind of am like kind of go where the wind takes me. If I see a book and I just download it and I'll just read it. I don't know. There's no
Okay.
rhyme or reason.
What is your Kindle unread number currently? Mine is 726.
Mine is 936.
I don't know.
Heather, do you know your unread Kindle number?
I haven't hit the limit on my Kindle though, so
I do know the number.
What is it?
And I just had to update it today. It is 2,412.
Unread? What the hell?
That's not even including her audiobook, TBR. As she's
No,
hoarding like 20 Audible credits right
Five.
now.
I know, I'm so jealous, actually.
And the worst part, not the worst, this is not a bad problem. Like this feels like a first world problem that I'm talking about right now. It's Stuff Your Kindle coming up this week. So my unread number is gonna
So
go
this episode will
insane.
drop Friday, March 31st is Stuff Your Kindle Day, I think. And this episode drops the Sunday after, but there will be another one coming up later this summer too. They do it about 3-4 times a year. So
I have obviously a lot of books to read.
Yeah.
I will say, like, the past like few months, what is this, March? I've read actually a lot. My Kindle unread used to be higher, but like I've read a lot of books that have just been sitting on my Kindle because I've read a lot of backlist books because
Yeah.
it's one of those things where like if a book is free, like from an author that I really enjoy, but like I don't always buy, like I'll buy the book because it's free and then it just sits there.
Yeah. Okay, can we just talk real quick about the feeling you get when you have to return one KU book because you've reached the 20 limit?
Okay, I am gonna go first because I wrote a really long paragraph about this. I feel like it's Survivor, and I don't know what to do. So
You don't know who to
like,
vote off the island.
yeah, I don't know who to vote off the island. So then I'm like, and that was like a major problem. I had all of these mafia books on there. Somehow, a couple times, Kindle has somehow given me 21 loans. And I'm like, I wonder if
Because
I
an
can somehow push
audiobook, if it's a book with audio, it counts as a
Doesn't always
second
count.
KU loan.
it.
No, so
Oh.
if you have Beauty and the Baller, which the audiobook is included with the ebook, that will give you 2 loans. So,
So I feel like it's like, Survivor. So it's really hard. I hate it. And then my older son loves to read, and he's like, "Oh, I'll just use your Kindle Unlimited." And I'm like, mm. And my husband's like, "You have 20 loans?" I'm like, "That's like if you only had 20 options in Netflix that you could choose from at any given time." He's like, "No." He's like, "You can share your Kindle Unlimited library, can't you?" And I'm like,
no.
"No, I can't."
Family plan. Set him up
Go
with his own
away.
email address. Family plan.
See, I don't always have my KU tapped out. I
I
usually
only have 17 right now.
okay, maybe that's right. I use my KU limit in a very unique way. It is so Heather's been super helpful in telling me tools on how to track the books that I've read so that I'm not forgetting them. But I have been using Kindle Unlimited limit as my failsafe. So when I go to download a new book, I will delete out all the old ones I've already read at that time, and I'll write them down. So at like my failsafe for making sure I'm actually keeping up to date with my reading tracking. So I don't have like anger towards it. It's more like, oh wow, I've read all these books.
Well, and for mine, like I will go through and like I won't like return books after I've read them until I write the review. So like I'll have books, and so like when my number starts dwindling, it's because like I've been writing reviews, so I'm deleting because sometimes I forget like the characters' names because I read a lot of books and sometimes I mix them up and I have to go back and double check, and sometimes I forget to write down the pop, so I have to search when they have sex, and so I have to keep the book. But then once the review is either like written out like longhand or typed out, then I will return the book.
So now every time I return a KU book, I'm going to see Jeff Probst going, "And the tribe has spoken." Like, I just need everyone to know that now, drop your buff. We're switching tribes. Like,
it's nerve-wracking for me. I know that sounds really dumb. So
no, I used to,
You're
when
not
I
the
was a
only one.
library person,
Mhm.
my hoopla for my library used to only be 10. And I would hoard them. And now it's up to 20. We get 20 a month, which is phenomenal. But you would get that email like the last 5 days of the month that said, "You only have 2 checkouts left for this month." And you're like, "Only 2? What will I do with myself if I have to?" No, it's like, it's stressful. What will you read?
Can I talk a little bit about what Lindsey had said about my
Yes.
book organization?
Yeah, because that's what we're going to do. Like organizing your books or organizing your TBR. Give us your tips and tricks.
So I house everything in Google Drive, which I know I'm just familiar with because I'm an educator and we use Google Drive. So I have a master like review template that I use, not a template. I write down like the book title, the author, the date that it's released, and if it's through a PR company, I write my review and then I include the links on the bottom so then I can turn it in at the end. And then I just link it to a spreadsheet with all my arcs or whatever review team that I'm on. Google Keep is really great. I just have it on my phone and it's like a little post-it note for each month and it tells me like what books I have to read or that I want to read that are releasing. And that's pretty much it. And Google Sheets. I use Google Sheets just like anybody would use a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I use so I have a planner that I use specifically for the blog and the podcast and whatever I'm reading, because basically anything I read, I put a review on the blog, or we do exclusive episodes called Should You Read It over on our Patreon. So, and my planner, I designed it myself, and I have like TBR in the front where I put the title of the book, the author, the date that I posted a review, and the date it released. And then it has a small section for notes about the book. Typically, I'll put the characters' names, tropes, and if it's a subgenre like sports romance, hockey romance, whatever. And then it has a space for pop, and then it gives my star rating at the very end of the 2-page spread. And then I have a color-coded system that I use in the monthly calendar that reminds me certain books that are on my radar for release. And a lot of those more have to do with, like, we have happy hour events on YouTube. And so I know that these books are going to release this month on these weeks. So I know what authors potentially to reach out for. Because, you know, if you've noticed on the podcast, we've moved author interviews off the podcast for the most part, and we're putting those over to YouTube now, which are great. They're so fun. They're such a fun night.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's how I do it. I'm trying to bullet journal, because I need a hobby. And currently the only thing I can tell you about bullet journaling is I really like washi tape.
Yes.
And pens. And a lot of washi tape. You guys, I found the cutest washi tape. It's rainbows and it's bookshelves.
Oh,
It is very cute.
And it automatically gets shipped to her house, so that's even better.
Every month they have a washi tape of the month club. And 5 rolls of washi tape come to my house every month. Oh my God.
so you love washi tape? Like, so if a friend per se had to destash washi tape,
They should
you would
destash it to my
want
house.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I love washi tape. If you are part of our Patreon and get our reading journal quarterly, I always send a couple rolls of washi tape with that because I want to share the love of washi tape. Anyway, that's all.
Yeah, I didn't get washi tape with my reading journal.
In December, yes, you did.
No, I did not.
I think you did. Everybody did.
No.
2 rolls.
I did not receive any washi tape in December.
I don't know why. You should have. And 2 pens.
I don't think I got pens either.
Wow, the person who stuffed your envelope sucks.
Yeah,
I think
really
I
do.
need Deltas. I need a pen from Delta.
Well, we all need pens from Delta. Okay, do you keep a different TBR for your audiobooks?
No, I do
no.
not.
No.
I'm very willy-nilly when it comes to audiobooks because I need to be in the not even in the headspace, but I have to do audiobooks through like the library and stuff because audiobooks are expensive.
Audiobooks are expensive. Okay, currently, what are some books that are on the top of your TBR? If you actually had a TBR, I'll give you mine and give you guys a chance to look at your stuff.
Okay.
I'm going to try an LJ Shin book. I'm going to try Ruthless Rival. That's on my TBR right now. Dr. Grant. Catherine Mora has been on my TBR for a minute. And this one reads supposedly as a standalone because I didn't want to go 2 or 3 books in.
I've read her, and I think I picked up in the middle of a series, and I didn't have any issues.
So I'm going to try Dr. Grant. Soulless Devil by Kylie Kent. It's book 3 in the Valentino.
No, it's book 4.
No, this is book 3. Soulless Devil's book 3. But book 4 is coming soon. In the Kylie Kent Valentino family, and I'm obsessed with these brothers. Wreck and Ruin by Emma Slate. It's been on my TBR for a while. The Playing Game by Ainsley Booth. She is an author that has several other pen names, and so I'm trying to familiarize myself with her. And then, of course, Give Me Forever by Layla Hagan. It's part of her Maxwell family. The series is in KU. If you have not read it, oh my God, read it. It's so good. I love Layla Hagan. Okay, what's on your TBR, guys?
All right, I'll go. I've got them. Right now I am reading, or I want to read The New Guy by Serena Bowen. It's part of her one of her hockey series.
Brooklyn Bruisers, right?
Yeah, I also put Lena Hendricks on my list because she's going to be in Iowa, and I'm just super interested in that. R.L. Kenderson is very good. If you ever want to read, they write, it's an author duo, PNR, and then they have this really spicy series. It's called The D Appointment, and it's set in Minnesota. Highly recommend. Let's see here. Anna Blakely. I am going to see her in Iowa. And then this Christine Allen has an MC series that I really want to read because she'll be in Iowa too.
Okay. Lindsey, what you got on your TBR?
A lot.
How about Zoe Blake? Well, did I convince you to read her yet?
I haven't added her on here, but I'll start with my list. It's kind of a lot. So I want to read. So I've got a couple books that I want to read from our Best of 2022 episode. So I want to read Always Mine by Laura Pavlov. I want to read oh Jesus, Relentless Devil by Kylie Kent. I actually have a lot of Kylie Kent. I want to finish the Layla Hagan Bennett family series. I think we've got like 4 or 5 books left in that. I want to finish Raina Morgan's Nolan Knight series. Like, why did you get me hooked on that, Becky? It's so good. And then like all these other books. And then I've got Preservation by Kate Canterbury. I started another book. I've been really skipping around a lot, but I want to come back and finish that. That was really good so far.
I like that one a lot.
Promise Me Always by A.L. Jackson. That's been on my Kindle for like a month since it released.
So good. Oh my God. But Lindsey, do the audio for that one.
That one's worth an audible credit.
Audio.
It's worth an
it
audible
is 1000%. Do the audio. It is the first book that I read audio first, and I would 1000% recommend the audio for that.
I am not usually emotionally triggered by a book, and that audio book,
so good.
I was tears and joy, and it was gorgeous.
Okay, I will do that. And then I also have Canon by Sawyer Bennett, her latest release, and then Where the Waves Break by Julia Wolf. Those are like the ones that I had at and Asher by Samantha Whiskey. I don't know why I never read that. Like,
Asher is so good. So good. And I need the next book in that series. I just said to Leah the other day, does she like...
It's like happy release. Like you get a text message. Like she has a text thing where it's like, this book released. Like you never know what's coming. It's just
I love
a happy
it.
surprise.
Cheese and rice.
It is always a happy surprise. I love that.
Leah, what's on your TBR?
Okay, so I have Before and After You from
Hope Ellis.
From Hope Ellis. Yes, we're gonna do a quick shot on that. So that's on my list. And then I have Fast Lane by Kristen Ashley, which Shauna keeps telling us about. And I know that you just finished it. And so I borrowed it from the library yesterday. So I'm going to read that. Actually, Morgan James is a name that has been coming across like my periphery for a while. So I'm going to give her a try because I'm always looking for new to me authors. And then actually is it Kay Ellen or Kate? Hold on a second.
Kay Island.
Kay Island. Yes. So I read her Creed Brothers series, book 1 and book 2. They were really well done and I really enjoyed it. So I want to go back and read some of her other books. And then Zoe Blake is now delightful, and I'm going to read more by her.
You're welcome.
I know, I'm not sad, but Marie Johnston has a new Oil Barons book coming out at the end of the month. So I have the arc for that, and I've been putting it off because I don't want the series to end.
I'm excited for that book because
I'm
I read
very
the previous
excited.
book, and this is the sister's book, and I'm
But
invested.
this is the last book in like this grouping, and like you're still gonna see the family and like the Oil Knights series that she's spinning off. But like I'm kind of sad that it's ending. So like I've been putting it off. I've had the arc for like 2 weeks.
So funny. Okay. It's that time, everybody.
It's that time for book
of
the
week. Okay. Heather, what's your book of the week?
Am I going to steal your book?
You
'Cause I
can.
might.
No, steal. Take whatever book you want.
I am reading Corrupted Union by Jill Ramsauer. And it comes out, I think, April
4th.
April 4th or April 6th. I have the 6th.
April
Anyway,
4th. We have Happy Hour with Jill on April 6th.
Okay. So this is book like 2 in the series.
Yeah, the Byrne brothers.
The Byrne brothers. Oh my God.
Irish Mafia.
Is such a great writer. This series is phenomenal.
The first book, Savage Vows, in the epilogue, the last book, is the hero from this book, Corrupted Union. He is holding a woman in a wedding gown in his arms, and she is not awake or conscious. And his cousin is getting off the plane with his bride as they're coming back from their honeymoon, and he is getting on the plane with this woman.
And it was very nonchalant.
Wait, he stole her? He stole a bride from the wedding?
Do not
know. So the first book in the series is the Byrne series. It's Silent Vows. And he picks her because he thinks she's a mute. It's very good. Then there's like a 1.5, and that's called Secret Sin. And that's so good. The audios are stellar.
Really?
Stellar. So book 2.
Heather is next level stalking Jill now. Like to the point that she's like, can we have a happy hour with Jill? And I'm like, okay, I'll email Jill and her PR person and I'll ask them if they would like to come on. And in the email I put, I just need you to know that my co-host for the evening is like next level stalking you, but she's not creepy.
Like, don't tell her what state you live in, though.
Right.
But she's not creepy.
No, and so it's really funny because she's in Denver for Readers Take Denver.
Oh, yeah.
The week before her release, and I was like, I know you're in Denver and it might not work out, but would you like to hang out with us on your release week? And she's like, yes, I don't care. I'm like, I just need you to know that it might be 60 minutes of my co-host fangirling and trying to figure out where you live so that she can stalk you. But Jill Ramsauer is a new to me author this year. We found her through the Mafia when we were doing our Mafia Recs. She's a one-click author for me now. Like I'm all in.
All in.
Well, she just writes a really solid story. It's kind of like if Sawyer Bennett started writing Mafia.
Sawyer Bennett.
They're written to the level of what I expect a Sawyer Bennett book to be. Like really well fleshed out characters, really dynamic side characters, thought out plots. There aren't plot holes. And
amazing families.
Yeah, and she leaves you wanting more, like constantly. Okay, Lindsey, what's your book of the week? I know you had a rough reading week, but is there anything this month that's been dynamic?
I'm going to talk about this series. I've Leah and I did a quick shot on it not too long ago. The first one, it's the Veil of Stars series by Juliet Cross, and it is so freaking good. It is so good. I have had that series finished for a while now, except for the last book, and I cannot bring I don't want it to end. I don't want it to end. I really love the characters, the world she built, and you see some of that in her Stay a Spell series. But it's set in New Orleans. This world is very much a different kind of world. And it's especially when you get into Vala's story, and the world building is phenomenal. it's such a rich story, and like the plot is so good, and it's got an overarching plot, so it is something I'd recommend reading in order. Because I would say, like, even though the love stories are standalone, like it's really in order kind of series, and it's just so good. I don't want it to end. I really want her to go back. I hope that her secret series is like another series with this.
Yeah, because she
world.
hasn't given any hints.
She probably won't. She seems to be very good at keeping secrets.
Unlike us.
And like, I mean, I just like I'm basing that on like the anticipation for book 6 in the Stay a Spell series. And like, there's not really a ton of hints out there. And she's
a dirty tease with what little she gives us. Dirty tease, Juliet Cross.
So
I love her so much.
Leah, what's your book of the week?
My book of the week is actually Brutalize Me by Michelle Hurd. It is book 3 of her Corrupted Royal series. It's an arranged marriage, but she gets arranged to somebody else that was not very good. And her brother had arranged her to somebody that he trusted, but her like adopted father had arranged somebody with like a really bad guy. And it was really good. But I will say there is one part that you're not sure, like how the hero can come back from it. And I don't know if he did a great job of it, but it worked because it's mafia. So it makes me happy. But it was really good. I really enjoyed it. But I really like Michelle Hurd's books too, though.
Yep.
So
my book of the week is Scandals.
We've
already talked about. It's Scandals of a Father by Zoe Blake. It is out on the 31st of May. It will be in KU. It is an age gap. He is a daddy. If you have problems with consent, or if you need consent in your books, this is not a book for you.
Do not read this.
It's not even dubious consent. There is non-con in this book. He chases. Primal Kink. It is sexy. It's not mafia, but it is dark.
It has like mafia elements.
Well, but he keeps the mafia out of the village.
It's true.
It's really good. It takes place in Italy. I am a huge fan of Zoe Blake. I found her in the midst of my mafia deep dive, and she writes really sexy age gap primal kink romances. So I have reviews up on the blog. You can check them out for more of my thoughts on Zoe Blake, because
say less. Sounds like winner chicken dinner.
Winner chicken dinner. Okay, so I just have to say there are some trends in our community, and we'll talk a little bit more about them next week also. But lap pillows for our Kindles, house purses, remote page turners.
Heather introduced us to the house purse.
And the husband. I have linked and created a list on our Amazon storefront that through our affiliate, we'll find a link in our on the shelf show notes, so that if you want to know what a lap pillow is, what the remote page turner and the husband are, they are becoming reading necessities for me.
If you are a mom that you had babies and you have an old boppy, I don't think I need to tell anybody that. Those are phenomenal, and you should not get rid of those, and you should just use them for your Kindle.
I bought one of the tiered pillows. It has like a inclined one or a steep one that has like a ledge on the bottom of the pillow to hold my Kindle. And it's great because I've developed this tech pinky where my pinkies no longer stay by my fingers. And I'm starting to have some pain in my hands from holding my Kindle all the time. So I've started using that pillow and my remote clicker, and it makes a difference.
I'm getting so old.
I feel old. I know the pop socket. Everybody talked about it in Drunk Book Club. They're like, Becky, get a pop socket. I know, guys.
You have pop sockets. You should try one.
I think I've gifted out all my pop sockets.
I think you might have too. I got one of the new like cases that have like the thing that pops out.
The strap.
I didn't like it. No, it doesn't have a strap. It has like a tripod to it.
I bought one with the strap and the tripod. I don't like it. Look at Heather. Just go for the pop socket.
The pop socket. I also
but I need a cute author pop socket.
I found a clear case for my Kindle, and then I don't like to use stickers. So I put stickers, and I just use a little double-sided tape and I put on the back of my Kindle.
Have you seen the strap that goes diagonal across the back?
Yeah,
It's like a silicone strap.
Yeah,
I feel like my hand would slide out of that though.
yeah,
Like there's nothing to grip there.
Yeah,
Like you're already gripping like the side of the Kindle anyway.
And I have short, fat fingers, so like the one thing I noticed with the strap is in the one hand I can't hold. My thumb doesn't hit the edge. You have what?
I have man hands.
I have little tiny fat chubby.
I can almost
digits.
palm a basketball. So I don't think the strap thing would really work for me.
Okay. But anyway, we'll have a list on our on the shelf show notes.
It's true.
Patreon update. Thank you for supporting us and helping us to bring you all the amazing podcast goodness. We currently have 4 open tiers on Patreon. Those that start at $5 a month and include membership to Drunk Book Club, along with other exclusive content like our Should You Read It, which get downloaded weekly. And I have some hot takes over there on The Highest Bidder by Sarah Kate and some other trendy popular books, and whether or not I think you should be reading them. So it's great content over there. And then if you didn't know, we are going to our first romance book signing.
We are, which is kind of crazy.
It's kind of crazy. Buzzing About Romance will be at the HEA Readers event in Indianapolis, Indiana on November 3rd through the 5th. Tickets are on sale now, and we'll have a link on our website. Just scroll down. It's on the right-hand side. That'll take you over to buy tickets. It should be a fun event, and we will also have some kind of indie meetup. So if for some reason you're not coming to the signing, but you live in the Indianapolis area, we will be having brunch on Sunday morning before we leave the area. You can find a list of all of our upcoming dates, including Drunk Book Club, Happy Hours, Plot a Book, and Reading Challenge at bookcaseandcoffee.com/events. At the release of this episode, we will have brought to an end our New to Me Author Challenge. I don't know yet if we're going to do a spring challenge. I know we're going to try to do something for World Book Day at the end of April. I have some ideas brewing. So Leah rolls her eyes and Heather's like, woo, yay.
Well, part of the problem is since I am working so much, Becky has been left unattended. Thankfully, she was sick for like a week and a half, so there wasn't a lot of like unattended Becky things happening. But when an unattended Becky gets ideas, you never know what's going to happen.
That's true.
Readathon.
Not that it was thankful that you were sick. I'm just saying unattended Becky can be dangerous.
She can be.
Sick unattended Becky, there's nothing happening.
No, you're pretty safe at that point, but I do make questionable life choices when left unattended. And also, it helped when I was sick that Mike was also sick with us. And so I wouldn't have, like, as I was getting better, I couldn't ask him if like he thought this was a good idea because I knew he was like really exhausted and not feeling good. And whenever I get an idea, you all get the fun of the wild ride, but Mike Burrier usually gets extra work. I did toy around with starting a new podcast, and he's like, is this really the time you want to start this? And I'm like, no, you're right. But really in my head, I'm going, no, I think I do. Anyway. But we do have a really cool newsletter we're starting May 1st.
We do. That was a good idea, but that was pre-sick Becky.
It was pre-sick Becky. You can sign up for that newsletter on our website. We are starting the Pour Over newsletter. It's more about your bookish lifestyle than
we might see a house purse article in there.
Coffee drinks and cocktails, and also maybe recipes inspired by the books we read, because like I read that Scandals of the Father, and I want Michael to make cornettis, which are Italian croissants, because she has one every morning with a
like jam on it.
Cafe Lugo. And I
it
had to
made me
look
really
up.
want cappuccino, and I will say that the cappuccino in Italy is not the cappuccino of the US. It packs a punch. It is delightful.
So yeah, you'll be able to find all that stuff coming up in our Pour Over lifestyle newsletter. We're going to talk about thrifting books in bookstores all sorts of
But
good
if there
stuff.
is something bookish that you want to see and we don't talk about on the podcast or in the newsletter that we put out there, send us an email because we're always looking for some ideas
Yeah.
like to add to it.
If you have a bookish recipe from a book you read that you want us to bake for you to see if it works, like Kaylee Ryan in her Stay Over book, the woman made sausage and cheese balls like as an appetizer. I am on the search for a recipe, so if you have a recipe, let me know. Anyway, thanks everyone for talking about your TBRs and how they are not manageable and that you love all my book recs.
You're welcome.
Until next time, everyone.
Happy reading, everybody.
Find us on Instagram at Buzzing About Romance or on Twitter at Buzzing Romance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.